Thank you for those who are attending the live webinar, and also for those who will view it later on as a recording. After I introduce you to our speaker, we'll be monitoring the question and answers, so and then we'll be able to feed our questions at the end. So do please pass on your questions. So it's with great pleasure that we can introduce Thai Van Nguyen today, a Vietnamese conservationist who has dedicated his life to protecting the pangolin, so critically endangered species, and I think, as the screen says, the world's most heavily trafficked animal. So he joined the Asian Pangolin Conservation Program based in Cuc Phong National Park in Vietnam as a volunteer in 2005, later becoming the program coordinator for captive management of carnivores and pangolins. And during this time, he completed many research projects and co-authored many papers that have been published in international journals. And then in 2014, founded Save Vietnam's Wildlife. And since its establishment, it's rescued more than 2,000 wild animals from 45 species, including 1,671 pangolins. And that possibly might be more now, rehabilitating and returning more than 60% back to the wild. And then in June 2018, he was instrumental in establishing Vietnam's first anti-poaching unit, responsible for protecting habitats in Phuoc National Park. Save Vietnam's Wildlife also carried out raising awareness and reducing wildlife demand for 100,000 local communities, over 10,000 local children. So as a result, law enforcement in Phuoc National Park has improved and the threats decreased by 80%, as well as increased the diversity and species richness in the park. And I know Thai's going to talk more about that today. So in 2021, this model was expanded to further 4 national parks in Vietnam. And on top of all of that, Thai won the 2022 National Geographic Wayfinder Award, Goldman Environmental Prize 2021, and Future for Nature Award 2016. So we're very lucky to have you, and we look forward to hearing more, Thai, today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi everyone. It's my first time actually making this presentation online and not be able to see everyone and get more engaged. But it's I think it's a great opportunity to sit in Vietnam, but to still be able to talking to everyone around the world about the work we are doing with the pangolins. And it's not just only the rescue them and release them, all of the habitat protection activity we have to do to protect, make sure they are survive and doing well in the forest. So thank you again to attending these talks, and I hope if you have any question or anything, and we hope we have a time to talk and engage more with you after the presentation. So the main focus today is I just talking about the Save Vietnam Wildlife, what we've been doing with the pangolin conservation, and also it's the one of the model like the protection, the site protection in Phuoc National Park, where we're doing to protect the pangolin after we release, but also we're protecting all of the other species as well. For Phuoc National, for Save Vietnam Wildlife, so we have over 60 staff currently based in the north and the south of Vietnam. We all of our work is focused on the rescue animal from illegal wildlife chase. So we operate through rescue center and rescue between 250 to 400 individuals of the animal each year. We also have developed a conservation breeding program from Chinese pangolin and Australian sea bass. We have like the anti-poaching team where they protect the habitats in the 4 different the national parks in Vietnam. We also have an education team. They doing the work to engage with local government, local authorities, and the local children to make sure people are proud about the species they are have, and also it's make them to change the behavior on the wildlife consumption, and willing to protect the wildlife. We also is working on the number of the research. It carries a systematic camera trapping to understand the chain of the population and finding the important species for the conservation. We also is like carry the research to radio monitor the animal after we release and make sure they are doing very well in the forest. One of the key things is Vietnam Wildlife working very closely with the Vietnamese government to lobby to change any policy on the wildlife conservation and make sure that it's support for the wildlife conservation work on the ground. So I don't know all of you is how much you know about the pangolin. So that I put the first photo. And many people from America probably know the armadillo. The species, they have a really hard shell outside and they can queue up into the bowl and protect themselves. So, but in America, you don't have the pangolins. So pangolin is like only scaly mammal. It's cover, the whole body is covered by the scale. And they have a very long sticky tongue and eating ant and termite. There are 8 pangolin species around the world. 4 species distribute in Asia and 4 species distribute in Africa. And all of the pangolin species is like endangered or critical endangered in IUCN Red List, and they also it lists in the Appendix 1 of the CITES, which is not allowed to chasing like international chase. In Vietnam, we have 2 different pangolin species. One species called Chinese pangolin. They more distribute in the north and in the central Vietnam. So you can see the red dots on the screens. It's a map where the Chinese pangolins distributes in Vietnam. From the literature review we found. The picture at the bottom is like Sunda pangolin. So Sunda pangolin is more distributed in the central and the south of Vietnam. And they are both critical endangered species in IUCN Red List and facing with the extinction. In the wild, pangolins almost they don't have any predators. So tiger, lion cannot eat pangolin. That queue up into the bowl. No other wild animal can eat the pangolin except the people. So the big problem with the pangolin is people hunting the pangolin for the meat consumption and for the traditional medicine. So pangolin scale has been hunted for the traditional medicine. And even with the pangolin also, it put in the dry wise as well. Because high demands in the pangolin meat is kind of like spread out, demand is spread out in many countries, especially in some country like China or Vietnam. But there are very high demand of the Chinese traditional medicine for the pangolin scale in Vietnam and especially in China. So we can see most of the pangolin in hunt in Asia or in Africa is to provide for the demand of the meat chest and also is for the traditional medicine, and that is bring the big problem with the pangolin all over the world. Because the pangolin, Vietnam is one of the transit country, and also it's is one of the consumption country. So we see a lot of the pangolin is being transported illegally from Vietnam, but also it from other Southeast Asia country through Vietnam before they are selling to China. So from 2006, I start working with the pangolin. That is the first, we opened the first ever the pangolin rescue center in Vietnam. In that focus on working with the pangolin. From 2006, 2013, we learned a lot from the how to taking care of the pangolin and how to like working with them. So many lessons learned from the Say Vietnam, from us to be able to bring more success on working with one of the most difficult species to keep in captivity. So that is one of the reasons is why you not see the pangolin is very common in the many zoos across the world. Very few zoos be able to working with the pangolins. From 2014, I found Save Vietnam Wildlife. It's a non-profit organization in Vietnam. And for nearly 8 years, we be able to rescue 1,671 individuals of pangolin from illegal wildlife chase, taking care of them. That is the number of the animal. It directly is working by Save Vietnam Wildlife in collaboration with Cúc Phương National Park and Phu Man National Park. Save Vietnam Wildlife also is supporting other rescue center in Vietnam to rescue nearly 300 individuals of the pangolin and release them back to the wild. So yeah, Save Vietnam Wildlife, we operate through rescue center in both Cúc Phương National Park and Phu Man National Park, where we rescue between 250 to 400 individuals of animal. You just see like the pangolin is one of the biggest number of the animal we are rescued in the last 8 years. And after we rescue animal, we work very hard. We set up the rapid response team. So anytime we hear from the government officer or anyone is confiscates the pangolin, we just quickest possible to send our rescue vehicle with all of the equipment and the box and come directly to the place where they confiscate the animal and taking care of the animal as soon as possible to make sure the animal have the best care at right beginning. And after we working with government and then we bring the animal to the rescue center either in Cúc Phương National Park or Phu Man National Park. So animal will be go through the health check from all of the outvets. If the animal have any wound or have any serious health issue, they will be keep in the critical quarantines in the vet hospital. But if some of the animal is stronger, we are move them to the quarantines, and all of the pangolins they have to stay a minimum 1 month in the quarantine under the care and the health checks to make sure they are free with any type of the disease before we make decision is we be able to release them back to the wild or not. So we feed the main thing is we feed for the pangolin is we brought an egg from the markets and to feed for the animal. The reason we feed the nature diets for the pangolin because we don't want to change the diets into the artificial diets. because when we change to the artificial diets and the animal is not used to natural diets, and they may have a lot of the problem when we release them back to the wild. So it's lucky for Say Vietnam Wildlife, we can buy the an egg easily in the country and to feed for the animal. We also is going to collect nature foods, the live food. For example, like ant, we go to cut the whole ant nest or the termite, and we keep the inside the enclosure to use them for environmental enrichment, to make sure they are still doing well with some live foods. After finish the quarantine, some of the animal, if they looking is more natural, they can we see if their behavior well respond to the live foods, and also with cramming, and then we make the decision to release them back to the wild. Some of animal, like if they may losing food, or they may hand raise, or they have a problem, we that transfer them and move them to semi-wild area where we can keep them for from 1 to 3 months before we be able to we change for them, and we put all of the natural diets in the semi-wild area. We're using the camera to looking at all of the birds, where they sleep, how they cram, and make sure like they have all of the natural behavior, be able to survive in the wild. And after that, we make the decision to bring them and release them back to the forest. And nearly 60% of the rescued pangolins were released back to the wild in the forest in Vietnam. So far, Say Vietnam Wildlife been released the pangolin into 5 different national parks, across from the north, from the central and the south of Vietnam. Normally the pangolin, it have to average, they have to stay around the 3 months in the quarantine before we be able to release them back to the wild with all of the health check and make sure they are free with the disease. So yeah, so like it's for the last 8 years, we be able to release over 1,000 pangolins back to all of the protected area in Vietnam. So now I want to tell stories about like where one of the place is Pumat National Park, where we are working, and to secure the animal after we release. So the reason we start working with the Pumat National Park, because early 2000 and before 2016, Say Vietnam Wildlife just only focused on rescue animals from illegal wildlife chase. But it's when we plan to release animals, when we go to check in the habitats, and we see so many snare trap, a lot of the problem with the hunting and poaching. And it's really hard to we put a lot of efforts to secure every single life of the animal we rescue. But and then we so worried about they are not safe in the forest. And then later 2016, Say Vietnam Wildlife started decide we need to get more involved to secure the site where we plan to release animal and make sure they are survive in the wild. So in 2017, we start organizing a workshop with all of the Pumat, the staff of Pumat National Park, and discuss about what we can do to improve the habitat protection. And we create the long-term strategy to collaborate together with Pumat National Park to make sure the Pumat National Park is safe for the released animal and the existed wild population over there. So it few reasons why we select Pumat National Park is because first is they are the third biggest national park in Vietnam. It's nearly 1 1,000 kilometers square. They holding like 504 species of birds in Vietnam. So it's considered 58% of the bird species in the country. The pumat also is holding 1,602 mammal species, and that is considered half of the mammal population in the countries. And they also have a 64 reptile species and 53 amphibian species. So it's one of the very last the national park with a very high biodiversity. But also with pumat is next to the nature forest in Laos and similar size. So combined together with both like Pumat National Park and the forest in the Laos, it's nearly like 2,000 kilometers square of the nature forest. So it's one of very important high habitat for the wildlife conservation. And you can see on the map of the Pumat National Park, they have many species from like the pangolin to like sea vest, binturong, bear. They used to have a sao lam. They also have elephants. And also they used to have like the photo of the white tiger in Pumat National Park 23 years ago. So it's one of the very key important site for the wildlife conservation in the country. To be able to secure Pumat National Park, we need to do multiple activities. First is we need to combat illegal poaching activities. So Save Vietnam Wildlife set up the anti-poaching team to be able to combat illegal poaching. We also is working closely with all of the government to combat illegal wildlife chase around the Pumat National Park. We raise awareness for local children and local communities, we also is working on reduce demand and make sure people are not eating local people and local communities. Government is not eating the wildlife around the Pumat National Park. We also develop the sustainable ecotourism, where we want to develop more tour to get more children, to get more people, Vietnamese people and tourists to come to see the values of nature in Pumat National Park, and they use the local people and using the local people service. One of the areas Save Vietnam Wildlife really plan to do more is finding sustainable community development to support for the communities. We also set up the systematic camp in Pumat National Park to understand the change of the wildlife population over time, and we recover some threatened species through the animal we rescues from illegal wildlife chase. Just about the rescue animal from illegal wildlife chase. So we build we support Pumat National Park to build the rescue center there that includes all of the quarantine facilities, vast hospitals, and also it maintains all of the old enclosure to make sure they are good to taking care of the rescue animal. You can see on the photo like it's multiple species rescue center. So you can see like we rescue like the white cheek gibbon, big-headed turtle, tiger. You can see 7 tiger cub we rescued last year, or the pangolin, raccoon dog. So from the very big animal to small animal. If you're looking on the list just from 2016 to 2021, Save Vietnam Wildlife collaborate with Cúc Phương National Park and Pumat National Park, rescues 2,107 individuals of the animal from illegal wildlife chase. And of course, a lot of them are pangolins. Over 1,400 individuals of the animal are pangolin, but it's also like 40 5 other species. Just the number of the animal we release in Pumat National Park is 878 individual of the animal from the 35 different species that is directly by Save Vietnam Wildlife. And Save Vietnam Wildlife also is like working with other organizations, for example, like support the release, support the transport for the Hanoi Wildlife Rescue Center to release the pangolin, leopard cats, and other total species into Pumat National Park. So total in the last 5 years from 2016 to 2021, we've been released nearly 1,200 individuals of the animal from illegal rescue from illegal chase into Pumat National Park. So to be able to secure Pumat National Park, we're working on the habitat protection. And the first, we see the law enforcement in Vietnam is not really effective. The government ranger is have a lot of the problem implementing some of the technology, like for example, smart program, going to the patrol effective in the forest. So we want to set up a model like the anti-poaching. It's a similar condition with the ranger, but it provides a long-term training, 2-month training to inspire them, to get them all the skill and knowledge what they need to be able to do the work in the forest. After 2 months spending time with the Save Vietnam Wildlife team, they are ready to send to the Pumat National Park and start working over there. And so from beginning, we just have one anti-poaching member of 7 people. And after really success in 2018 and 2019, we increased the anti-poaching to 16 members. So every single ranger station have a anti-poaching member, and they work closely with the government ranger to support them with the smart program, support on the smart reports, provide like monthly planning for the patrol, and also with support like new technology. So just from 2018 2021, we just see like total is like they've been working like 38,000 kilometers in the forest patrol by foot. They discover 710 people go to the forest illegally, and 325 people were arrested or had to pay for the financial fine. We see a lot of the tree been locking, the animals were poached, that were confiscated by the anti-poaching and ranger in Pumat National Park. They also confiscated 104 guns, almost 13,000 snare traps, 27 electro fishing equipment, and also they destroys 913 poaching camps in the forest there. So that is some of the photo. You see the like local hunters by local people, and most of the people are hunting is for the chase. It's very small percent of the hunting is for the local consumption. It's mostly people going to hunt and to bring the product, the wildlife product, to sell the restaurant in the town or city. So daily walking the forest anti-poaching is remove all the snare traps, confiscate the people go into the forest, and also it's sadly we see so many the animals been hunted and poached in Pumat National Park at right beginning when we start working over there. This one is short video showing some of the animal, like we rescue from the snare trap while we yeah, so it's always good to see some of the animal be able to save and go back to the nature, but sadly so many animals would die. And people had to pay for their activities, and well, after put a lot of efforts on law enforcement, and we make the case to make like 5 poachers to go to the jail for total like 13.5 years in prison, and that is really changed the people minds, all of the local people rather Pumat National Park. Before they not really put any attention on the law enforcement, but it's now people start aware of the law enforcement is increased in Pumat National Park. We also is using the technology, so poacher cam. So the poacher cam is taking photo. So we put like main the engine of like where local people often get access into the forest to hunt the animal, and then you can see like the photo can take like in the daytime, in the nighttime, and send like after the photo been taken as in like 3-5 seconds, the photo will be sent to the phone number of the anti-poaching and government officer, so they know it's which time and where people go to hunt in the forest, and they respond quickly to confiscate the people. But also it's if the photo clear enough, they be able to arrest people as well. And that has been really support for the law enforcement work in Pumat National Park. After doing the patrol in the forest, the anti-poaching and working together with a ranger to monitor the hunting and the chase network. So like to know who is hunters, who is chaser, what their relationship, and where they are selling the animal, and that is the way they monitor and they try to confiscate the people is more effectively. The anti-poaching, after they go to the forest, they also is spending time to visit every single family who they know are still going to do some poaching, warning the people about their activities, and also telling people what is the punishment is applied if they going to hunt animal. So it makes people more aware about the laws and law enforcement, and encourage them to not go to hunt in the forest there. To combat illegal wildlife chase, we also organize a number like 3 workshops with all 3 different districts to get every government agency involved in combat illegal wildlife chase. And from the workshop, we create the action plan for each of the districts, and to get involved, and we see the law enforcement, the combat illegal wildlife chase is much more effective around the Pumat National Park. After not only the protect the forest, we also carry the research. So we after we release the animal, we tracking them with radio tracking. First, we do the radio tracking by hands, but it takes a lot of the resource and time of the researcher, and we collaborate together with wildlife drone, the organization, the company in Australia, and in the first time we apply the new technology using drone to tracking the pangolin. And because with it one, it's they say significant time and efforts from the research team or when they tracking the animal, and we be able to tracking many animal at the same time, like can like up to over 40 different individuals of animal we can track at the same time. And we can see the location where the animal lives is on the map of the computer easily. And also it improves safety for the researcher when they're doing the work in the forest. So for the in the last few years, we've been released like 17 pangolin in Pumat National Park, and it's really good to seeing what the animal will be able to follow. So they are doing very well in the forest after we release them. Not just only the Pumat National Park, we also release and monitor tracking the pangolin in Katien National Park and U Minh Thượng National Park. And we see the animal also is doing very well. Like for example, like Katien National Park, we even did follow some of the individuals, the pangolin for 8 months, and that is the longest periods of the animal. And after the battery is die. Not only monitor the animal, we also set up the systematic camera trap in Pumat National Park. It's 497 camera trap were set up in Pumat National Park, and we see like over 9,000 photos of the animal were detected in Pumat National Park from 79 different species will be able to identify by the research team. And the first time we see the reproduction of the Autumn cives, one of the endangered species in Pumat National Park. And we see like the first record of the male bobcat, and first time we record the raccoon dogs there, and proves is great hotbed is are not extinct in Vietnam. They are quite common in Pumat National Park there. We the systematic camera trap we set up in one of the Khe Chuang, the Zilit side. The area is around 20,000 hectare. And we first set up the camera trap in 2018, and then we repeat the same methods of camera trap, same time of the year, same location in Pumat, in the Khe Chuang. And we it's so happy to see like after 3 years when we start working more with the Pumat National Park, we see like it's increase of the diversity and species richness in Pumat National Park. You can see the circle dots in the screen. It's where we set up the camera trap in 2018, but in 2021, we see most of the population is increased. We just see only that very few the species like Fred Buzzer. We don't know, understand is why they decline in Pumat National Park. Just maybe they disturbed by some other species rapidly increased like porcupine, white pig, or mancock. Yeah, and it's great to see like many threatened species in Vietnam as they exist in Pumat National Park. You see the 5 photo of the marble cats there, 7 photo of the bear, 13 photo of great horseback, 13 photo of elephant, 24 photo of Australian cives, 40 photo of the pangolin, 95 photo of the animal moonchuck, 82 photo of the animal triplet rabbits, and many other species as well. We also is doing the undercover work, like survey the illegal trade, like the restaurant around the Pumat National Park where they're selling the wildlife. from the information we have, we working together with journalists, and we continue to support them to do the undercover. And after that, using the information to provide for the police in Vietnam, police in the Nghệ province to confiscate the trader. And one of the example here is where we are working with journalists, and on the 1st of August 2021, the police in Nghệ An confiscated 7 tiger cubs from illegal trade. They probably trading from Laos into Vietnam, and this case is like the trader is were reported by the journalists. 1 day later, they confiscated the 4 pangolins, and 2 days later, they confiscated 17 tigers from the wildlife farm in Nghệ An. So a lot of law enforcement work, but we also is working on the building capacity for all of the government agency, all the Pumat National Park, to make sure they are working and support to combat illegal wildlife chase and poaching around the Pumat National Park. We also provide a lot of the workshop for local government and to the local people and local government, and make sure they support for the conservation. We training for the journalists, so they be able to doing the undercover and writing about the wildlife conservation, to get people more interest in wildlife conservation and support for the conservation work. We also doing background research to understand about local communities, the key hotspots of the poaching, and what's the alternative they suggest. So from the understand where the key hotspot, we can be able to focus where to provide more time and efforts to raise awareness for local people in Pumat National Park. We pushed like 35 different billboards. The big billboards is that it's showing the picture and very clear about how much punishment applied to each of the poaching activity in Pumat National Park. We list all of the endangered and critical endangered species on the billboards, so people and say like, if you hunt even it's one individual of the mammals species on the boat, you will get to prison between 1 to 5 years. So that it make people really aware about how much punishment apply if they doing illegal hunting in Pumat National Park. We also create radio broadcast to talking in the local language to all of the village or other Pumat National Park as well. We also is working with local school, so we be able to come to the school and get the children to learn about the wildlife, proud about the species they have in Pumat National Park. And we, through the children, we want the children to send message to the parents to stop eating the wildlife and stop the poaching animal, to save the animal for them. After come to the school, we also set up the school clubs and bring the kids to have a first time experience with nature and connect with Pumat National Park to make them proud about the park they have and the diversities in there. We also working with some local authorities to make the campaign to reduce the demands. So it's the campaign is Con Cuông District Say No to Consuming Wildlife. So the campaign is the way we're doing very different. We're doing the background survey to understand is what local people concerned about the wildlife consumption, about the extinction and poaching, and then understand is who influence them most. And then using the people, they get the respect by the community to tell the message about what people concern. So we are not kind of like the conservationists and come and tell them what to do. We use the message from the local people and from the people who are they respect. We also come to the restaurant, working with government officials, come to restaurant, talking about the laws, the punishment apply, and for the restaurant sign on the paper to commit not selling the wildlife. And if they continue to sell wildlife, they will be withdraw the license, and we provide the certificate for the restaurant. So every you just see all of the office and on the main streets around the Pumat National Park is a lot of the message about stop eating the wildlife. We also doing a lot of communication work. So it's great. It's like seeing all of the efforts we put in Pumat National Park, from the stop poaching, stop illegal wildlife chase, reduce the demand, and we see the threats in Pumat National Park is actually reduce the number of illegal camps in the forest in Pumat National Park. It rapidly declined from 2018 when we start working with the park until the early 2022. And similar with the number of the gun we confiscate in the Pumat National Park also with rapid declines. We see the number of the people go to forest and number of the chop we remove in the forest also it declines. Even with the level of decline is not the level of what we want, but it's just because the impact of the COVID, a lot of people, the lockdown in the city, the people going back home, they don't have anything to do. They go to the forest and hunt again. And great news is all of the efforts where we work, we be able to see like the decline of the threats in Pumat National Park, but also its increase of the diversity and increase of the species richness in Pumat National Park since we start working in 2018 compared with now. And happy to see so many the pangolins, the photo, the pangolin even it carries a baby in the forest in Pumat National Park there. So protecting Pumat National Park is not just for pangolin. You can see also it's like a lot of the elephant in Pumat National Park, the bear, Chinese pangolins, autumn sea bass, the animal tribe rabbits. We all see like these threatened species that increase the population in the Khai Chuang where we are working. Cirrus also it's increased the wild population, or animal moonchuck, the great hot bases, the raccoon dog there in Pumat National Park as well, so many other species. The massive increased population of the wild big porcupine and macaque, and that it bring a lot of the concern because we not have any photo of the big carnivore in Pumat National Park, so there are no predator for the wild pig, the porcupine or macaque in Pumat National Park, and that is may lead to overpopulation in the future. And from the anti-poaching also is Kamachapi that seeing the 8 species of the turtles also it exists in Pumat National Park as well. And after success with Pumat National Park, we'll be able to expand our SMART program and anti-poaching model to other national park to the south of Vietnam. So be able to maintain that 3 sites that Pumat National Park, Cat Tien National Park, and U Minh Thượng, U Minh Hạ National Park. We have to do all of multiple activity to be able to secure the site, and that is currently Save Vietnam Wildlife doing. And be able to protect all of that site, we secure like 34% of the amphibian species in Vietnam, 68% of the bird species in Vietnam, 57% of the mammal species in Vietnam and 27% of the reptile species, and many of them are critical and endangered species in the country. And we also developed a conservation breeding program for Chinese pangolin and Australian sea bass. And in future, we hope to recover them back to the wild. Yeah, so that is going to the end of my presentation. And yeah, I'm happy to see if you have any question.
Thank you, Ty. That was fascinating. You did well to cover so much information in such a short space of time, and all the many facets of your work. One of the questions that did come in early on was about data in terms of the success of your releases, and I know you did go on to talk about post-release monitoring and some of the data that you shared there. So perhaps you could share with anybody any published data that, if anybody's interested in reading more about your work, what's out there in terms of published work.
Yeah, so for the introduction program, so Save Vietnam Wildlife first organization be able to build up the semi-wild area for the pangolins. So we some of the animals were born in the captivities, or some of the animals they have a problem to be with the natural behavior foraging in the so we put them in the semi-wild area, and after that we release them back to the wild. So only small percentage of the pangolin will be able to put the transmitter and monitor them. Like on the presentation I saw, like we start monitor the pangolins in 2012, but quite a lot of the work is happened in 2019 and 2018, 2019, and 2020s. And we see like most of the animals are doing very well after release, but some animal will be able to check for a long time. Some of the pangolin will be able to check for 8 months, but it's some of the pangolin will lose signal very quickly because the reason because the technology we use the wildlife drone to monitor pangolins, but the signal from the drone we be able to only like if the pangolin moving for like more than 2 kilometers, we cannot like pick up the signal, and that is a limitation in of the research using the drone. And now a lot of the update of the technology we be able to monitor pangolins much longer distance, but back to the like 3 years ago is that is maximum distance that we can follow is like 2 kilometers. So if the pangolin is moving further away, and we couldn't really continue to monitor them, and that yeah, we could kind of lose signal. But so far the pangolin is it's quite easy species to adapt to natural environment. They can survive very well. It's not like some of the carnivore, especially the bear or other species. The pangolin, the ant and termite everywhere, they very easy and quick adapt to the natural environment.
All right. Another question is, Sarah, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I've got a question, but you go ahead first.
Well, okay, I'll do this one quickly, and then I'll let Sarah jump in. How do you see the issue of the pangolin trade, and indeed other wildlife trade, in the next decade?
I see things is more positive because I see a lot of the NGO, a lot of organization is like been working with wildlife conservation. A lot of the pressure put on the government official to force them to doing more activity to combat illegal wildlife chase. Also with COVID, it brings some positive for the wildlife conservation. The lockdown and the border closed between the country and country, we see it stop quite a lot of the illegal wildlife chase. The number of the animal, like especially the pangolin, we are rescued by Save Vietnam Wildlife dropped by like over 80% in the last 2 years since the COVID happening. And also we see some positive like in Vietnam and China, where government is actually like creates a new policy to like to manage wildlife chase, and also is to like to dealing with the problem of wildlife consumption. So I see in the future the thing is getting better, and I see most of the place where the national park where we are working, like the pangolin is still like one of the very heavy like the species. They have a very high price in the illegal wildlife chase. But looking at all of the national park where we work, the wild population is start increase, and it's really good thing is seeing like even with one of the national park, U Minh Thượng National Park, where we set up the Kamachap over there, 71% of location where we set up the Kamachap have a Chinese pangolin. So yeah, so it's a lot of the positive to see like wildlife population is starting getting better in Vietnam, and I think the shedding will be reduced in the next few years.
Fabulous. That's very inspiring to hear. Go on, Sarah.
Definitely nice to get a positive message. My question, Ty, was just whether you're noticing as ecotourism within the national parks is increasing, are you seeing a decrease in poaching activities?
The ecotourism is and the poaching is it's not really related for now, but because it's like the problem in Vietnam is ecotourism is not really well developed. Very small number of people are going to the forest and seeing the wildlife. Some of the national park is very close to the big city, like for example, Cúc Phương National Park or Cát Tiên National Park. They have around like only like 50,000 to 100,000 people to come to visit the park each year. And that is very small number of the people, like to compare with some of the national park in Thailand, like Khao Dai National Park or Yellowstone National Park in the United States. So the ecotourism is not very well developed in the country, so that is the problem. But it's whenever we see some of the like place where the ecotourism develops, like for example in Cát Tiên, and we see like the government, they put more pressure to protect the habitats, because like they try to save the animals so the people can come and can see. So that is one of the things, is like to like put more pressure on the government to protect the habitats. And second is like some place like that, we see local people start get involved in ecotourism. So some of local people are taking the tourists to come to see the wildlife and experience with the nature. Even with the number of the tour guide is very small, but it start happening, and we hope to like promote more for ecotourism in Vietnam to get more people and come enjoy with the nature. Sadly, so many people that want to stay in the resorts in the city, away from the nature.
Fantastic. I think we're just about out of time, Ty, but I just wanted to say thank you so much again for sharing your time and all of the work that you're doing and Save Vietnam's Wildlife is doing. It really is very inspiring and so wonderful to see so much optimism as well. And massive kudos to you for everything you've achieved over these years, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's the story we're talking about the Pumat is just to make people realize, to save the habitat, to save the animal, we need to do multiple activity together. like just law enforcement is not work with everyone, that it can reduce the problem. Raising awareness also is like to have at some level, but it's not to everyone, or reduce demand or many other activities. So we need to do like multiple activity together in order to achieve the mission of like what we want to do with the wildlife. Yeah.
Collaboration.
But thank you very much for everyone for listening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the work of the Save Vietnam Wildlife with everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And for those who are still on the call, the recording will appear on both Wild Welfare and Global Animal Welfare's YouTube channels in the next week, probably. Yeah.
Thanks
Okay,
again,
thank
everybody.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.